My presentation today is on different coaching approaches. I'm going to be talking about how the different coaches' approaches, how they affect participants, the philosophy, and how Lyle suggests how depending on philosophy you apply will be dependent on the background, their experiences. So making sure that your philosophy fits with their style of play, and make sure they understand it. And you can do that through effective communication. And how is it important to communicate with your athletes to make sure that you know what's asked of them through clear communication, and how lesson plans must be progressive to help participants. This is important because they need to know where they're progressing in the future. Coaching philosophies are different depending on coach's experience, which will cause him to have certain values of belief. This is because your background and your past will help you to have your own style and the way that you coach and way you want to do things, and this will help progress your philosophy and how you want to pave the way for your athletes and how you want them to play. Lyle suggests that values are means through which individuals evaluate their experiences and lead to some things being regarded more highly than others. A complete set of values provide a meaningful context for an individual's activities and those of others. So the coach is following values when approaching their athletes, as it will be more effective, and make sure that the coaching technique is effective and being used properly, and also the style of the athlete. If it's in team or singles, making sure that they know the way do you want to get coach them, and make sure that they fit into your philosophy. Because if they don't fit in your philosophy, you're not going to have a good team behind you, and it's not going to help the athlete either. They're going to feel like exhaled, and make sure they're not going to feel included, and that's the main part about sports, to make them get all included. A way to get your philosophy across is by effectively communicating. How is it done so they understand how to implement it? So basically making sure that they know where you want them to be at a certain time, work through set plays, and keep them going throughout everything. A lot of coaches' philosophies, the reason why they don't work is because players don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. So it's making sure that they understand why. And this brings me on to effective communication. When communicating, coaches must not only communicate clearly, but also for the range of participants, so they are able to fully understand what's going on. Robinson suggests that the coach might be the most astute technician and tactician, but if they are unable to effectively communicate what they want their performers to do, then these techniques and tactics would be completely lost on the performers. This is basically saying, don't use the wrong terminology for the age groups. So the point of the effective communication is for the athlete or participant to understand what the coach is asking them to do and effectively put it into practice, making sure that whatever is told to do, they can listen and adapt it and how they expect it to be. So if you say all fancy words and key points all together, it's not really going to work for them. So for a swimming teacher, you're not going to give them all the key points at once, because it's not what's needed. You give a couple of key points at a time, get them to work on that. Those certain key points, then you progress them with more key points in the future, but keep reinforcing all the key points that you've already said. Effective communication will also help the coach to get what he wants from his athletes to perform, and it also helps with the philosophy. So if you can communicate clearly throughout the philosophy, they're more likely to understand you and where you want to go with your philosophy, and making sure that whatever happens, they are understanding. Also, making sure your lesson plans have clear structure, making sure you have clear progressions for your athlete. A coach should select the practices, progressions and game activities required to achieve these session goals. Progressions should be carefully planned to ensure an appropriate increase in complexity. So it's basically making sure that it doesn't matter like what the skill is, it's just making sure that there's progressing in skills. So if you're teaching front crawl, taking one step at a time, so only telling them one. So you basically want to tell them one key point at a time. So you want to make sure that it's high elbows, so get them to do high elbows across the pool. Then after that, you want them to do thumb in first, so making sure they do all this first. It's all about making sure that they're taught the skill properly, and so this will help reduce injury, because in sport the biggest thing is injury, so it's trying to reduce the amount of injury that's happening. A way to go through the progression is to make sure you clearly let the participants know the changes and why. A way to do this is also through effective communication. You need to let them know why you're changing it and why you're making it harder, so that they can progress, because if they don't know why they're doing it, they're not going to understand what they have to do to become better. And that's the main part about working, is keeping it inclusive and making an athlete better than he was the day before. So it's all about making sure that the athlete works to a higher standard and understands why they're working to a higher standard. So Michael Phelps, he works every day of the week, so including Sundays, so he gets extra practice time, so he can learn more and more through that extra day that he does.